self-serving set of standards that we use against our enemies, who happen to be those with natural resources that we seek to exploit. Imagine if the Rizzler says some shit like that and then Jimmy Fallon just dies. He has an aneurysm on the spot and fucking dies. That's television. How many booms do you give that? Okay. That's more booms than 9/11. I'll tell you what. That would be the most skibbity thing that anyone has ever done.
We work with what we have, and if these are our new public intellectuals, I expect them to rise to the occasion. I am formally calling on the Rizzler to weigh in on the ICJ arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu. Is there any validity to international law, or is it just to impose Western hegemony on third world nations? Where does Vladimir...
Hive mind. Hive mind. Hive mind. Okay, that's brilliant. That's how you know. That's why this, oh, come on. Come on. Oh, okay, that makes me happy. That's fucking awesome. That is cinema. Respect. Also, it's the ICC that are issued an arrest warrant, but it's okay. It's not the ICJ. ICJ is state versus state. ICC is the International Criminal Court, but I'm not gonna give you any notes on that. But that was very good. It was very good. It's like reading a post that 100% agrees with you. Yeah, it feels good. What do you mean? Also, even Kurt Vonnegut himself said that all the artists' stance against the Vietnam War amounted to nothing. What did he say? He said it was like it was akin to fucking what, like a water droplet on top of a ladder or something. I forget what he actually said. So can we even say if he has more impact than the Rizzler? Exactly. The Rizzler, if he said that, it would be more than a custard pie being dropped from the top of a ladder. It would be more like an atom bomb of truth. A spiritual atom bomb, the type that Mao Zedong talked about. Many booms, not just 5, but many, many booms. The Riz nuke, the truth nuke coming from the Rizzler.
Putin's use of intercontinental ballistic missiles right on the boom meter. If these children don't know where they stand of Assad, how can we in good conscience continue to call this fraud big justice?
I can feel myself getting dumber. If I watch an entire movie without looking at my phone, I feel like a chess prodigy. It doesn't even have to be something deep. I could have my phone charging in the other room while I watch Fast and Furious. I walk around the rest of the day like I just read Finnegan's Wake. Yes, you see, Dom's love for Corona is symbolic to his allegiance to his family. Family's not solely bound by blood relation. It could be found in the eyes of a perfect stranger, the same way Corona implores you to find your own beach. Conversely, the NOS represents, is the trend going to continue? Are people going to be impressed if you watch a whole TikTok in 20 years? Like, brother, I do not have the attention span for a whole 60 seconds. I just hit my fent pump and electrocute myself to orgasm. I just found it's the most streamlined delivery system of dopamine between my second and third jobs. The people that don't have the opium zappers will be pretentious like the kids in school didn't have a TV growing up. I don't want to spend the night at Joey's house. Their family are freaks. They didn't let him get the Neuralink prostate pack. Their dad's religious and doesn't believe in fun, I guess. They just hit vapes and watch Minecraft streamers all day. They're like Amish or something. They're fucking weirdos. As the medium of media changes, it also changes us. A 2021 Harvard study reported a surge in Tourette's-like symptoms of adolescents using TikTok. The repetitive trending audios became default responses.
Very demure, very mindful.
Having a conversation with an 11-year-old feels like playing Cards Against Humanity. They just have this deck of
shoddy blood, like, that's good. Fire. It's Riz right there. That light skin Riz. Mad lit on God, no cap.
People are also self-censoring in real life to abide by social media platforms' terms of service. To get around content moderation when talking about subjects like rape or suicide, creators will use terms like unalive or SA instead. These topics aren't advertiser friendly, so they have to be talked about in a roundabout, sanitized fashion. The reverberations of that are people in the real world feeling like they have to sanitize their speech, like there's an omnipresent content moderator always standing behind them. Refraining from profanity or talking about sex used to be from fear of eternal damnation. Now the fear is demonetization. These are heavy topics that aren't supposed to be light and advertiser friendly. You shouldn't have to say, no diddy, but I was like raped as a child. You need therapy. In Neil Postman's book, Amusing Ourselves to Death, he reflects on how the medium of communication shapes the culture.
Okay, this
For
is
although
true.
culture
This
is
is
a
fact,
creation-
though. Yeah. What we found out earlier today is that there is a 46% chance that that the Rizzler is a Hamas supporter, like a firm and committed Hamas supporter, like low key. I mean, he's under the age of 18, which increases his chances of being a Hamas supporter. Because, like, think about how these numbers came about. Okay, 18 to 24. That's the TikTok demographic. Who is on TikTok even more than 18-year-olds? 12-year-olds. The Rizzler is literally not only on TikTok, he's a TikTok content creator. Okay, the younger you get, the more time you spend on TikTok. The more time you spend on TikTok, the more you talk about the Al Qassam brigades and all of its glory. Like, the Rizzler probably has the fucking red operational Al Aqsa flood banner. Okay, do you understand? Talk about a real baby of terror. These babies, they love terror. Extrapolating this trend linearly, this means a 2-month-old is 99% likely to support Hamas. Yes, that's my point. Exactly. Why do you think Israel wants to kill children so bad? Because they're not wrong. These are children of terror. The younger you are, the more likely you are on TikTok. The more likely that you are on TikTok, the more likely you support Hamas unconditionally. What do you guys think? You cracked the code, dude. That's it. Anyway, just I do this statistic it always makes me laugh. So I will probably be going back to this quite a bit. Like 50-50 split between multi-billion-dollar propaganda operation over the course of 77 years of apartheid and genocide versus the most Islamophobic nation on the planet lending support to a fucking group of orphaned teenagers with bathtub missiles and bathtub guns that they made. Okay, like, that is insane. I'm sorry, Israel is in the dirt, dude. Holy fuck. Can you imagine unleashing one of the most sophisticated multiple decade propaganda and influence peddling operations only to fucking be so horny and so arrogant for child murder that you literally have a 50-50 split with Hamas. 50-50 split with Hamas, a fucking organization designated as a terror organization in one of the most Islamophobic countries on the fucking planet. That's crazy. This is with the insane amount of censorship and the insane, unprecedented amount of a live streamed Holocaust that you can get from every orifice in mainstream media. Like, this is why I was saying over and over again, if CNN and the New York Times and BBC and all these other fucking outlets were honest about their coverage of Israel's atrocities, it wouldn't be a fucking near 50-50 split for 18 to 24. 80-year-olds would be fucking preaching about Hamas. They would be advocating for a coalition of the willing to invade Tel Aviv. 2016 NBA Finals all over again. Curry blew a 3-1 lead to Braun. Lego might be La Hamas. Zach from Try Guys just talked to the recent meeting about meeting him, and he asked if Zach liked Trump. Oh, the Rizzler? Yeah, of course they're fucking right wing. What are you talking about? I'm joking. What is this? My 5th grade daughter is reading at a 10th grade level and at the top of the honor roll in math and English. You seem angry. Cross Harvard off the list of schools for my kids. I don't think that's something you had to worry about anyway, champ. Doesn't sound appropriate, but it's probably a lie. Excuse me, sir. My name is The Real Truther. Obviously, I don't tell lies. Spreading truth about vaccines since 2015. Anti-Semite slayer. Listen to past spaces under highlights. Wait. This guy is an anti-vaxxer who also attacks anti-Semites? That makes no sense. Like, is he just like half the time shitting on... Wait, why do I follow him? What the fuck? what the fuck was this account in the past that it became this? Because look at all the other accounts that follow him. This must have been oh my God. This must have been a fucking account that was like, no, not bot followers. No. This was probably like, if you scroll back hard enough, you'll find like the truth. He probably was like normal and then lost his fucking mind. Either a meme page that got bought and then sold to this guy, or was a person that was like, was a person that wasn't normal, but like probably was one of those like conspiracy adjacent accounts that just like lost their mind post-COVID. No, it was a shitpost account 100%. I've seen a few meme accounts sold off and post the dumbest fucking ad slop. Could be. Gonna hit that unfollow now. It's a pro-vaxxer megalib who loves Israel. Oh, they're pro-vax. They're not anti-vax. Oh, when someone says spreading the truth about vaccines. Oh, fighting science misinformation. Oh, it is pro-vax. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. That makes sense. All right, fuck. I probably followed them because they were fighting anti-vax losers. Never mind.
Of speech. It is recreated anew by every medium of communication, from painting to hieroglyphs to the alphabet to television. Each medium, like language itself, makes possible a unique mode of discourse.
How can you be fucking pro-vax and then be pro-Israel? Really denied vaccines to Palestinians. Like, the fuck? That's weird. Like, that doesn't, you don't even think about that? How does that work? Not a part of your equation? Palestinians not human? Is that how this works? Gross. Yeah, he's pro-vax, but he didn't.
Course by providing a new orientation for thought, for expression, for sensibility. While I do not know exactly what content was once carried in the smoke signals of American Indians, I can safely guess that it did not.
He just said he's fighting anti-Semitism, not pro-Israel. No, dummy. This is where I'm getting he's fucking pro-Israel from. Not the fact that he's like fighting anti-Semitism. If you see a poll like this and you're literally a science guy and you think this means all Harvard students, 46% of Harvard students, and it's not a Harvard poll, okay? You're so fucking insane. You're so insane at that point that you're lost in the sauce. You're like, oh, not sending my children to Harvard. They're pro-Hamas. Like, okay, dude. Like, the very fact that you can't even demonstrate basic competence and realize that this poll is conducted in a way where it's supposed to be Israel versus Palestine, but because that would be unfavorable to Israel supporters because it would be like 90% pro-Palestine, okay? That they do Israel versus Hamas, and those numbers keep fucking growing for Hamas month over month, and this person doesn't understand why that is happening, you know? The person they replied to seemingly has you blocked. All their interactions are grayed out for you. This person? Oh. I guess they do. I know him online, lol. I don't know who this fucking person is. Let's go back to the video, please.
Not include philosophical argument. Puffs of smoke are insufficiently complex to express ideas on the nature of existence. And even if they were not, a Cherokee philosopher would run short of either wood or blankets long before he reached his second axiom.
October 27, 2024. The Twitch has become a hotbed for extremism. Deeply disturbing. Okay, dude. Why do you still follow me then, big dog?
You cannot use smoke to do philosophy. Its form excludes the content. Twitter in some respects has ruined our relationship with other human beings and has infected media and politics. The format of Twitter rewards certain styles of communication and either consciously or unconsciously has changed the way that we speak to each other. Features such as the 140 character limit strips words of their context and forces people to oversimplify complex subjects. This lends itself to sensational and divisive statements that embolden the people that agree with you and alienate those in the outgroup. The block button would eliminate naysayers from your feed and curate communities of echo chambers. The quote tweet feature, or the look at this dumbass button, would be the driving force of cancel culture. You could take people's sensational and out-of-context tweets to poach their audience for max visibility and signal to your own tribe that you're not this dumbass two-dimensional character that you're sacrificing upon the altar.
Did you read the recent news article with quotes from Hamas? You told me to support them. But they just stated they did October 7th to destabilize the Middle East, not anything to do with Israel. Why you gaslight me? Awesome. Hamas's intentions were to destabilize. They wanted to destabilize the Middle East. Why you do this? Why you gaslight me? Yeah, I'm in the pocket of big Hamas chatter. You got it.
This communication style spilled over the containment walls of Twitter and affected how we talk to each other in all facets of our life. Movies and television had characters not speaking to each other, but creating caricatures of the archetypes they see online and dunking on them with quips spoken to the audience beyond the fourth wall. Hollywood started to lose touch with the consensus of the American people and existed in bubbles of wealthy socialites. People started to tap out, finding no commonalities with the people that used to bring them joy through their work. They sought out alternative forms of entertainment. There was a huge boom in online independent content creators. The political horseshoe theory states that as you move further into the extremes of an ideology, the two wings start to take on more similarities than differences. On one side, we have Mao Zedong. Ooh, look at her go. Look at her go. Oh, she wants it. And on the other side, we have Adolf Hitler. The most radical of each party both take on ultranationalism and authoritarian mechanisms of control and come to the ultimate conclusion that
we're just gonna kill them.
Take the topic of abortion, for example. In the center, you have no strong feelings one way or the other. You just don't want to make people upset at dinner parties. If you go down a little bit in the right wing, abortion is a tragedy, but there still needs to be access for certain circumstances, such as rape or incest. If you go down even further, there's no exceptions whatsoever. Every abortion is a murder, and there should be no access. But if you go far enough right, they actually end up becoming pro-choice again, depending on the race of the baby. Similar to the political horseshoe, content exists on a horseshoe of attention. Let's replace the variables to illustrate this phenomenon. We'll replace the desire for change axis with views. And we're going to swap out the left-right political axis with cringe to awe-inspiring. The center, just like in politics, is boring.
The political horseshoe theory is ridiculous. That's disappointing from a Hasanabi head. I think it was a joke.
I mean, it's not good, it's not bad, it's just fine. They're mediocre. There's no one you want to send it to. It's just something that you'll see and scroll past. Then we have the awe-inspiring, the content that reminds you what it means to be human. You're exposed to levels of talent and dedication that show you why these people were put on Earth. They give you hope for the future and passion for the present. Then on the other end of the spectrum, we have the embodied...
The next SNL cast member.
And here's why I should be a contender.
That guy was awesome.
Merry Christmas, y'all. Day 419 of spraying dog medicine on my hands.
That guy's also awesome.
Would you like to kick or receive the Bible?
The lol cows, the schizos, the rage bait, the dumbest guy from your high school's Gary V inspired hustlecore podcast, portals into unimaginable hell, despair stranger than fiction. The awesome and the cringe are more similar than they are different. There's a magnetism to them. You can't look away, either because it's like a car accident or it's so beautiful it transcends into angelic. You just have to share it with everyone you know. It's either art or it's some form of performance art by its mere existence. Artists are beginning to get phased out by content creators. An artist is somebody that makes art, and that word carries certain connotations with it. Art makes you feel something, it has resonance. It starts dialogues, and through people's different interpretations, it can reveal things about yourself and the world around you. Comedy carries the expectation that it'll make somebody laugh when they see it. If it doesn't make you laugh, there'll be arguments over whether it's even classified as a comedy. Is this what passes for comedy nowadays? Pfft, must have forgot to laugh. Is Nanette a comedy?
Think about this.
No.
You're stuck in traffic, and the lights turn blue.
Yeah, some people think it is. It doesn't have to make everybody laugh. It just has to make somebody laugh. If you intended for something to be funny and one person laughs, congratulations, you've succeeded at making comedy. You've met the functional definition of the product. If you make a chair, there's the expectation that you'll be able to sit in it. But if you give it to Dave Blunts and he blows the legs out...
Ace Domain, from the creator, I can explain the political horseshoe part coming up. I'm not a neo-lib, and this was the main misinterpretation, I think. It was mostly just a throwaway to get the content theory part. I was just saying that the autocrats, regardless of starting political ideology, usually end up employing similar tactics to maintain that power. Don't let the tankies be mean to me. No, it's over. You're canceled already, big dog. Sorry. Should have thought about that before you used it. Before you use such an infantile political tool to make a point.
Stop being a chair? No, it just wasn't made for him. It would have been the perfect stool for sweet baby Hasbullah. It was just sold to the wrong customer. But if no one on earth can sit on it like it's a flaming baseball bat with nails in it, you can't really call it a chair anymore. Content creators have no expectations. Nobody can say something technically isn't content. In the same way that Descartes said, I think, therefore I am, it was posted, therefore it's content. You could just as easily call it shit. Hey, did you see that latest shit Chrissy Teigen posted? Nah, I'm up to my neck in Johnny Salami shit right now. I don't even know if I'll get to it. Art is entertaining, so people end up treating it like it's interchangeable with entertaining shit.
Netflix pays $100 million to make a TV show, right, that distracts you for 2 hours.
Right.
YouTube pays $0 million to make a podcast that distracts you for 2 hours every day. Netflix cannot compete.
Media's talked about like it's a pacification ray just meant to tranquilize you long enough to make it to the next ad break. Just blasting you with a fire hose of concentrated fluoride meant to sedate you. And this is actually what some people claim they want. A common complaint people have on why they tapped out of movies and television is that everything's too woke nowadays. I don't want to be preached at by a bunch of out-of-touch millionaires and their politics. We need to go back to simpler movies to escape all that crap, like Star Wars, where a group of rebels engaged in asymmetrical guerrilla warfare against a technologically superior evil empire, which doesn't have any parallels to anything like America in the 1960s. What the fuck are you talking about? I don't even know how you came to that conclusion. What the fuck do you mean the Ewoks are Vietnamese? No, they're little bears. To get into the woke phenomenon, we need to talk about the most persecuted minority in American history, the gamer. Now, I don't want to come across as tone deaf. I can say the G word. Hard R. I've reached levels of unemployment not heard of since the stock market crash of '29. While
Thank
you were out
God.
partying, I studied the blade. While you were engaging in premarital sex, I practiced the blade. While you wasted your days in the gym in pursuit of vanity, I mastered the blade. Our people were brought into the sphere of public discourse in 2014 with Gamergate. Gamergate was a sprawling clash between Sargon of Akkad, Anita Sarkeesian, and Baron Horkonnen. Wait, not the last guy. Everyone sounds like a villain from Doom for some reason. The gist of Gamergate was a female journalist critiqued the video game industry for objectifying women and only having them as one-dimensional characters with big jiggly titties meant to serve the male gaze. Responses to this ranged from "that's gay" to "that is super gay." For the chronically online that were on the pulse of this controversy, some people agreed with her critique of the industry,
and others wanted to kill her. Literally, were like, you should die. We should do all of the medieval terror, medieval techniques of torture on you. And anyone who defends you also deserves it. Like, it's one of those moments where like, sure, she was kind of fucking cringe, but like, who cares? Why the fuck did you invest any time and any effort, any moment of your life to losing your fucking mind over this person? How goddamn pathetic. My friend got so radicalized about those videos, he became a crypto Nazi guy. That's what I mean. It's like human beings are so fucking malleable, but god damn, you don't have any fucking intellectual backbone, no moral compass whatsoever, that like the fattest, sweatiest, most neck-bearded loser can convince you into giving your life up for implementing the Fourth Reich, which ironically enough, if things were to operate like the Third, you would be melted. You would be melted into biomatter under, like in the new regime. You would not be an Aryan Chad. You would be in the fucking death camps for being a fucking maladjusted loser who can't leave his fucking house. Like, you would not be in the front lines, you know?
Some people disagreed, and a few people messaged her, "If you try to take away my big jiggly titties, I burn your house to the ground." The dialogue then shifted from the video games being misogynistic to the gamers themselves. A concerted effort was made by the gaming journalist community to write a slew of articles about how the gamer was dead. "We were a proud and noble people. We lived in harmony. The noob, the camper, the kid that would freestyle rap on Call of Duty party chats, until one day, the white woman attacked." This was the jumping off point for YouTube's right-wing radicalization pipeline. Creators such as Sargon of Akkad, Gavin McGinnis, and Milo Snuffleupagus gained notoriety during this time. When young men felt under attack by the culture, these YouTube personalities became a bulwark against the criticism and engaged in their own asymmetric warfare against the corporate media entities. The lines in the sand had been drawn for the culture war that was going to take place over the next decade.
Waluigi is the ultimate example of the individual shaped by the signifier. Waluigi is a man seen only in mirror images, lost in a hall of mirrors. He's a reflection of a reflection of a reflection. You start with Mario, the wholesome, all-Italian plumbing superman. You reflect him to create Luigi, the same thing, but slightly less. You invert Mario to create Wario. Mario turns septic and libertarian. Then you reflect the inversion in the reflection. You create a being who can only exist in reference to others. Waluigi is the true nowhere man. Without the other characters he reflects, inverts, and parodies, he has no reason to exist. Waluigi's identity only comes from what and who he isn't. Without a wider frame of reference, he is nothing. He is not his own man. In a world where our identities are shaped by our warped relationships to brands and commerce, we are all Waluigi.
To apply the postmodern analysis of Waluigi to our American entertainment system, we can start with the 1984 movie, Ghostbusters. Set in the Reagan era, it was an embodiment of the culture at the time. A ragtag boys club of blue-collar men kicking ass and saving the day, going up against the nerds and the dickless Environmental Protection Agency. We'll use them as our Mario. Traditional masculinity, saving the damsel in distress, and slinging dick jokes. Then came the Lady Ghostbusters. Wait, it's just called Ghostbusters? I've literally only ever heard it referred to as Lady Ghostbusters. It's too late to change now. Lady Ghostbusters is our Luigi. Essentially the same skeleton as the original, but with a role reversal. In the Obama years, it was less a reflection of our culture than an attempt at a course correction to it. It didn't seem to have a problem with bosses sexually harassing their secretaries, but it posed the question, why can't a girl boss sexually harass her male secretaries? Chris Hemsworth played the himbo hunk with a room temperature IQ that the Lady Ghostbusters salivated over.
And now's your moment. Pull it out.
Oh, sure.
I feel like a lawsuit waiting to happen.
The movie was released in the summer of 2016, when all of Hollywood thought Hillary Clinton would be a lock for the presidency.
In all of the battles that were fought and lost, where I think every belligerent lost, I feel like I dodged all of these cultural war bullets. Like, even when the Ghostbusters, Lady Ghostbusters shit was happening, I was like, who cares? I didn't watch it. You know what I mean? When Gamergate was happening, I was like, I play video games. I don't understand why these people are so obsessed with titties in video games. Like, why? Why do you make a big deal? Like, it becomes like the content itself, and this is what's happening with Gamergate 2 now, is that the content is not about the games or playing it or consuming it or even like having any sort of serious critique about the commodification of art and how capitalism has destroyed even the space of gaming, even though there's still a lot of incredible games that come out year over year, and games are, some might even say, better than ever before. But like, it's more so about the outrage. Like, these guys that cry about the games that come out, they actually want shitty games to come out so they can complain. They need something. They need a villain. Like, they don't care about the games at all. I don't think they actually consume any games at all. Like, they rarely ever play video games. They are not in it for good video games. Like, their direction, what they want out of the gaming industry is not even necessarily like a clear-cut, well-defined agenda. Like, oh, all characters have, whether they're men or women, like men have to have strong dicks and women have to have strong titties. Like, that's not even what they really want. And that's precisely the reason why there's always outrage directed towards games that are fucking bangers. Like, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is a great example of this. These outrage merchants freaked the fuck out about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. The guy who made it is a bit of a reactionary himself, and yet he made an incredible game. Like, I played it, I spent countless hours on it, and it's so fucking good that it kind of like ruined me for playing the Oblivion remaster, because the combat after playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, when you get used to that combat, you're like, oh my God, every other type of like first person RPG combat is just so ass. You're just hacking for no reason. Like, it doesn't feel the same. And the world was expansive. It was lived in. It was real. Like, it felt real. The NPCs were like, they would react to you, the way you look, the way you act. It was awesome. And yet, gamers fucking freaked out because they thought Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, the guy who made it, even though he was a bit of a reactionary himself, had actually put a black character in the game. And there was a perfect reason for why there was a black character in the game. Just one, by the way, just one black character. And that there was a gay sex plot line. And people lost their fucking minds. They were like, how dare you? How dare you fucking put a black character in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2? How dare you put gay sex in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is optional, by the way. And they fucking lost their mind over it because they don't care about playing good games. They care about simply outrage.
The film suffered a similar humiliation to Clinton, being negatively panned by audiences, and was a box office flop. The response by the creators was to blame the audience for the poor reception. They called the fan base racist, sexist, all the istinisms you can think of. I saw someone say the movie failed because of misogynoir, which is a new word for hating black women, I guess. They really need to workshop that one, because it sounds too sexy right now. It's like a cologne.
Leslie Jones is a dumb bitch. Misogynoir. By Dior.
The backlash then fueled the creation of the monstrosity Waluigi, the inverse to Lady Ghostbusters, Lady Ballers. The reactionary swinging of the pendulum. Whereas the toxic masculinity of the 80s was subconscious and not altogether harmless, wasn't deliberately malicious, the new wave has gone septic. Their thesis statement is nothing besides we are not Lady Ghostbusters.
Boys are better at everything. They're better at basketball, MMA.
That goes without saying.
And running, and javelin, driving, parking, most of the STEM fields, rock and roll, opening pickle jars.
They don't know what they are, only what they're not. Anti-woke, anti-DEI, anti-establishment. The Daily Wire, PragerU, and right-wing media companies said they're going to be bringing back real comedy.
It's like comedy sucks. It's like nothing's funny. You can't make fun of anything. It's like legalized comedy. Yeah.
brother, this guy stinks!
Return to the heyday of the feel-good, apolitical, sophomore comedies of Will Ferrell and Adam Sandler.
What? Did we just become best friends?
Yup!
Do you want to go do karate in the garage?
Yup!
The movie Lady Ballers, directed by Daily Wire CEO Jeremy Boring.
I bet the board is spelled B-O-R-E-D.
I swear to God, that's his real name. Was marketed as a comedy that harkens back to the 90s and early 2000s. These people have no idea how to accomplish that task. It's as if the art of making a lighthearted comedy is a lost technology, like how the Egyptians built the pyramids. They are so off the mark of making something like Step Brothers or The Hangover, they must be sitting in the editing bay coming up with conspiracies on how Adam McKay was helped by extraterrestrials. The movie is just as pedagogic or preachy as any of the woke movies that they spent their careers rallying against.
Of course your divorce is affecting your daughter. 70% of all people in prison come from broken families. She's twice as likely to do drugs, twice as likely to drop out of school.
Oh, that's fucking worse.
4 times as likely to have trouble fitting in, 3 times as likely to end up in therapy, twice as likely to commit suicide.
It's condescending, spiteful, putting political messaging over any sort of development.
These transhumanist tech oligarchs and nihilist college professors have already convinced every self-righteous housewife with Munchausen by proxy to sacrifice their kids on the altar of false virtue.
You cannot do a funny impression of somebody that you hate with all of.
Yeah, this is like shittier Aaron Sorkin. Oh my God. That was the most Sorkin-esque drivel I have ever fucking encountered. And it was somehow worse than the shit he puts out. Oh my God. Oh my God, the soy right is so real, dude. The soy right is not a fucking meme. It's just the reality. For years and years, it turns out the right were just jealous that what they perceived as like liberal monoculture was so dominant in media. They just wanted to be, they're just as soy. They just wanted to make movies. Like that's all this was. An arts program could have fixed half of the fucking reactionary movement. Sorkin at the end of the day at least has the dream of working with Republicans. That's also true. I mean, I guess they already got their conservative guy who writes long speeches. He just happens to be a Democrat Party voter. You know what I mean? What do you mean by Aaron Sorkin? That monologue right there was literally a Aaron Sorkin monologue. Aaron Sorkin is, if you like him, you are probably a liberal. You like long, drawn-out, idealistic monologues about how we can find a reasonable middle ground and that America truly is a great country. It's just we haven't been able to unleash our potential.
Of your being.
You just did that entire story to what?
To make a name for myself? To get clicks? To gain power? What part of I'm a journalist do you not understand? I'll cancel you.
The characters in Lady Ballers despise each other to the level of your parents arguing.
West Wing walks so Veep could run. How could you fucking compare? How could you fucking compare two entirely separate types of... West Wing is dog shit. It's idealistic liberal nonsense. Veep is a documentary. West Wing bricked an entire generation's brain, okay? West Wing is responsible for the modern Democratic Party more than... Aaron Sorkin almost single-handedly is responsible for all of the failures of the modern Democratic Party. If you could pinpoint one type of... Like one... If you were to... Albeit reductive, but if you were to like figure out one person that is perhaps most responsible for third-way neoliberalism and its prominence in mainstream culture and it's like unlimited defense from random fucking onlookers, Aaron Sorkin is the guy and West Wing is the method. 5 years, time to unfollow. Grew up on West Wing, disagree wholeheartedly. There's nothing wrong with liking idealism as long as it's entertainment and you understand the real world. Leave my liberal king alone. Sorkin does not deserve that. Oh my God. Veep, on the other hand, Armando Iannucci is like the opposite of Sorkin. Sure, some of his later works are not the best, but Armando Iannucci is a far more competent writer and far funnier and has an infinitely better understanding of the world of politics and just the world in general than Aaron Sorkin ever could. They are on the diametrical opposites of being of doing work that is rooted within materialism. Star Trek is idealism. West Wing is ignorant propaganda. Fair.
But the only thing you have to do to make me and your mom happy is come home at the end of the day.
The only thing you ever had to do to make me happy was come home at the end of the day.
I'm not gonna like you, am I? Don't be ridiculous. Everybody likes me.
I'm not gonna like you very much, am I?
Oh, don't be ridiculous, Dana. Everybody likes me.
But at the moment, I could buy Mount Auburn Street, take the Phoenix pong room.
I could buy his house 4 times and turn it into my ping pong room.
Answer them, don't answer them. It's entirely up to you.
The West Wing is like 8 seasons of Reddit comments. Oh, that's so good. No, I don't want to play the iconic monologue. If I play this monologue, half of chat is going to turn around and say he's actually dope. If I play this monologue, the newsroom monologue, half of this chat is going to turn around and be like, he's actually sick. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to disappoint myself. And I don't want to disappoint everyone in this community. I don't want to be disappointed in my community. I don't want to awaken the nascent liberal inside of everyone. Okay. Inside of you are 2 wolves. Both of them are gay. One is a gay liberal. The other is a gay communist.
With each other at the Cheesecake Factory the night before their divorce. You never listened to me.
You never listened to me.
Oh, is that what I sound like? Oh, well, who am I?
Duh, I lost our kids' college money sending Amazon gift cards to an Indian man pretending to be my girlfriend. Duh, I'm retarded.
It's like, yeah, I mean, those are impressions, but I don't think that their child sitting on the other side of the table is going to find it very funny. Here's what the funniest comedian of all time said about making jokes about groups of people. You need to tell a black joke like you're talking to your black friends. You got to tell jokes about women like you're talking to your sisters. You got to tell jokes about white people like you're talking to your white friend. This movie wasn't made to be enjoyed by women or Democrats or gay people. It was made as a spite project to pander to an in-group. And my problem with it isn't that it's conservative, it's because it sucks ass. There's plenty of great movies that are made by conservatives and are conservative in nature. Clint Eastwood's Gran Torino, Mel Gibson's Apocalypto, the first Incredibles, arguably, or any of the Vince Vaughn movies from the early 2000s. The difference was they used to have a humanity to them. Vince Vaughn would be the sarcastic, everyman protagonist trading blows with the beta male liberal. But at the end, there was some sort of commonality where they're like, all right, you're an annoying pussy, but I'm kind of a stupid asshole. Can we just get along and get through this wedding? The modern anti-woke content gives no quarter. There's no olive branches. There's no attempt at understanding. It exists as a power fantasy where the main character is an audience stand-in that's always right, just destroying their political opponents, knocking over straw men with the lack of nuance fueled by the Twitter-poisoned mind. You might be inclined to write off the Daily Wire as propaganda, but that's not the correct term. Propaganda is a form of communication used to influence or persuade an audience to further a political agenda. Their content isn't made to lure a politically neutral audience into their ideology. The origin of these channels are SJW owned, libtard destroyed content where a grown man with a research team and printed out statistics is on their way to a Comp 1 class to try to make them look like dumbasses. These aren't designed for liberals to come around and see things their way. They're made as a catharsis for people that already hate liberals. And I get it, they're annoying. Propaganda is supposed to separate you from your way of thinking. A grifter's job is separating a market demographic from their money. Selling anti-woke coffee and razor blades.
If you've had enough of the woke bullshit, and you're tired of paying companies like Harry's and Gillette to hate you,
because they see people's alienation and frustration.
There's nothing funnier than this company fucking falling apart financially, by the way.
With the system is an opportunity for them to line their own pockets. It's an insult to the audience's intelligence that they make content that doesn't challenge their worldview or perspective. They say, we already know what you think and feel, and we want you to stay right there, because that's how we know how to sell to you.
The sculpture is a Chinese woman, you dork-ass losers.
Art being made every day is just going to be harder to find now. The algorithms are designed so the content that rises to the top is often mindless clickbait, engagement farming, or people exploiting your anger and disenfranchisement. Great art is still being created, probably now more than ever, but you're gonna have to pan for it like
Okay,
gold.
bro. He put Mickey 17 in there. That's crazy. Like, The Pit is fire. Okay, The Pit was fire. Rehearsal's very good. I've been watching the second season, but Mickey 17 was biggest miss of his career. Sorry. Fuck you. Mickey 17 was awesome. Straight up, I stand on this. I stand on this 100%. Mickey 17 is you are objectively wrong. For Bong Joon-ho, I'm butchering his name. Mickey 17 is literally his worst movie. It's a 7 out of 10 or 6.5 out of 10. It was, oh my God, dude. Oh my God. Are you fucking serious? Are you serious? It was for a world where Kamala Harris won the election. It was just, dude, come on, dude. You got Parasite and you're comparing it to like Mickey 17. No, listen. The premise is great. I know it's like off of an original work and it's supposed to be, what's your critique? It was a waste. It was a fucking waste, okay? It was a waste. First of all, Mark Ruffalo and his character was so fucking ass, dude. He was so ass. Like, he is such a fantastic actor. And it was such an annoying performance. Like, yeah, I get it. Oh my God, he's like a Elon Musk, Donald Trump type. Like, Mickey 17, when you watch Mickey 17 and you like it, it's just like the equivalent of pointing to the camera and being like, I get that reference. It was booty cheeks. Film Redditors love the champion mid. On the other hand, you know who was fucking phenomenal in it? What's the name of the main guy? Robert Pattinson. Fantastic. A Knicks player quoted Ho Chi Minh. Wait, Cat did? That's not just any Knicks player, bro. And that's also, holy fuck, that's from years ago, bro. What are you talking about? Remember, the storm is a good opportunity for the pine and the cypress to show their strength and their stability. Ho Chi Minh. Was he even on? Bro, this is 2019. He wasn't even a Knicks player at the time. What are you talking about? That's sick, though. He regularly quotes the Little Red Book now. Y'all are fucking joking, right? You are out of your... What? He quotes the Little Red Book? My critique is that Mickey doesn't have agency. The tough clone is the one that sacrifices himself. The main Mickey just sits around and everyone else does stuff. It's just like liberals waiting around to vote for Kamala. That was literally the end of the movie. Worst film of his career. Your take is right. No, it absolutely... He loves China. You know, it was filmed years ago, right? I don't care when it was filmed. I'm just saying that, like... oh, we're all over the place. God damn it. I'm fucking flying off the wheels here. This goddamn stream is falling apart. Mickey 17 was a movie that would have been fantastic with tweaks. And I feel like it just missed. It missed the mark. It was watchable, but it's not rewatchable at all. It's just not very good. I say this as someone who absolutely loves space exploration, space colonization, and dystopian sci-fi futures. I love all of those concepts together, and I love Bong Joon-ho as well. It is fucking 6.5 out of 10, which is higher than I think it deserves. Like, all of those concepts, and it still fell so fucking flat. It was shocking. Did you see Sinners? Because I loved it. Sinners, excellent. Wall to wall. Phenomenal. Like, there were so many interesting concepts about cloning, the lack of care for undesirables, debt traps, and what people do to escape. Like, what people do to escape the financial circumstances that they were forced into. Stuff is great. Like, leaning into that shit would have been so much better. All right, let's keep watching.
City. Become a small-time patron of the arts. In a world where attention is a commodity, the only democratic control we have is not to look. You have to be like Lot's wife fleeing Sodom and Gomorrah, and if she dared look back, she'd be turned into a pillar of salt. If you're pulling your hair out and asking, why is this popular? Are people stupid? Yeah, duh. And you're even dumber than them, because you're not even enjoying the time that you wasted. It's like eating a whole plate of Twinkies and going, ugh, I hate Twinkies. Disgusting slop made to demoralize us. The West is dead. Yeah, man, no one told you to eat the Twinkies. They were just on the shelf. You have the choice. Give everything a chance, but once you know you don't like it, just disengage. If somebody says, hey, did you see that Ian Miles Chong tweet? Go, sorry, brother. Only tweets I hear are the birds on my back porch. Become fully grill-pilled. I'm almost 30 years old. I shouldn't have an opinion on Mr. Beast. Does the Fresh and Fit podcast suck? Or am I just not a Cuban man in the Miami dating scene? Does the Daily Wire suck? Or am I just not the most divorced man at my local cigar lounge? I like 90s anime and ska punk. It's not like if I sat down with those guys, I would convince them that Neon Genesis is the pinnacle of art. The Fresh and Fit fan would be like, hey, B, I'm gonna keep it real with you, retarded. This Shinji Jit, he just like a little bitch, you know, freaky ass jerking his little dick in Asuka's hospital room. That shit nasty, for real. Daily Wire fan is like, this Shinji Ikari needs to pull himself up by his bootstraps. I mean, his father owns the company and he's still dropping the ball. It's called responsibility, pal. Get your ass into gear. It's not for them, the same way their shows aren't for me. I used to be the main...
Okay, to be fair, their shows are for no one, okay? It's for no one. Because at the end of the day, you just want good shit, okay? I'm a simple man. And that's my number one rule, is make good shit. It doesn't matter who's making it. It doesn't matter what kind of, like, political messages is baked into it. That's why, like, even Aaron Sorkin stuff is, like, watchable, okay? It's not unwatchable garbanzo in the way that, like, something that is both heavily political, condescending, pedantic, and just, like, trying to literally fucking force feed you a message in a ham-fisted way. That is the Daily Wire production. The Daily Wire production is aggressively trying to bludgeon you in the head with a political message and is far too angry to actually make something worthwhile. Not all art is going to have a fantastic political message, okay? As a matter of fact, if you're a leftist, a lot of art doesn't have a political message that aligns with your worldview. The word you're looking for is didactic, sure. Okay. I'm so tired. My point is, it's not about like you know, laser beaming communism into your fucking mind. It's just something that's watchable, and Daily Wire fails on that front. But then again, so much of what people consume nowadays is getting dumber and dumber and shorter and shorter. Yeah. You're just now telling me this. The Justice Department opens up inquiry into Cuomo singling out another political target. Yeah, they're doing this because I think they're, you know, they want another controllable mayor of New York like Eric Adams.
Target demographic for most of the content that was being produced. Now I'm just a smaller piece of that pie chart, but it's still being made. The Banshees of Inisherin came out a few years ago without any fanfare, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. Black Country New Road is one of the best rock bands in the era where everyone was saying that rock is dead. I'm finding new artists and musicians that inspire me every other week. And if you don't see anybody making things for people...
I think in terms of political spending, I'm going to do a lot less in the future.
And why is that?
I think I've done enough.
Is it because of blowback?
Well, if I see a reason to do political spending in the future, I will do it.
Anybody else enjoy watching that? This dovetails beautifully with an article I wanted to share from a couple of days ago. It's in Euro Weekly and it's entitled Tesla in Shock. Billionaire shareholder sells millions of dollars worth of shares. This is from May 18th. You'd think betting on electric cars would still be cool in 2025. It's interesting to me how much just a few years ago, MAGA were all about their Hemis, and they were doing what my daughter calls truck chodes, where they had these they took their muffler off and they would put these fat, short exhaust pipes to pump a bunch of like nasty black exhaust up out of the top of their truck. That was a way to like own the libs and stick it to them for wanting to have emission standards. Right, like back then, 2020, 2021, they were calling Tesla cars for soy boys, and how very quickly they all got on board the Tesla train and suddenly decided these cars they previously called effeminate were now like really cool and representative of MAGA. In fact, we saw the president trying to hawk Teslas despite their plummeting sales in an attempt to boost their sales from the front of the White House. The president of the United States of America debasing himself and playing car salesman for Elon Musk. Didn't work so well though. Anyway, okay, back to the article. You'd think that electric cars would still be cool in 2025, but one of the big money hedge funds, Coatue Management, just gave Tesla the boot, selling over 500,000 shares. They also trimmed their Nvidia stake. That's a big AI company. So what did they buy instead after they sold off all of that AI and Tesla stock? Philip Morris, a cigarette company. In 2025, they think cancer sticks are a better bet than Tesla. But surprisingly, this move wasn't just about profits. They looked at their ESG score. ESG stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance score. It's a kind of rating system that investors use to decide if a company is quote unquote responsible, working to save the planet. Do they treat their workers well? Oftentimes, ESG is not really about what a company does. It's far more about how they present themselves. It's about their reputation. And Tesla, even though they sell electric cars and they build solar panels and other car companies buy carbon credits through them, they have an ESG score of 40, which is considered miserable. Philip Morris, cigarette company Philip Morris, has a score of 85 in comparison. So is Tesla not green enough? What's happening? Tesla's mission is to replace petrol cars, this is again European article, gasoline-powered cars with electric ones. That should tick all of the green boxes, right? But ESG scoring is not that simple. It's less about actual impact and more about the paperwork and good PR. And I covered this in depth in the past. Part of the reason that Tesla is solvent is specifically because of government policies, especially Biden policies, that allow petroleum-using companies, gasoline-powered car companies, etc., to purchase carbon credits from Tesla because they are electric. Those policies didn't really benefit the environment. All they did was funnel a bunch of money into Tesla. It wasn't really an environmental policy, it just had the appearance of it, but what it was meant to do was to have other industries be required to polish their image via adding a bunch of money to Tesla's coffers. Part of the reason that Tesla is hurting now is because they can't sell carbon credits without selling cars. Their carbon credits are linked to their electric vehicles. So as their sales plummet, they are not able to take advantage of that really cushy deal that we wrote into law for them. Okay, back to the article. Your ESG score as a corporation is far more about good PR and your reputation than it is about your actual policy or impact. And what is Tesla's PR situation right now? Tesla lost points for being a bit of a mess behind the scenes. Lots of worker disputes, lawsuits, and Elon Musk's social media antics. But also there was paperwork shenanigans. They didn't tick all of the right disclosure boxes in their reports. And that's a big no-no. But even if we go back 6 weeks ago, Tesla was already in deep trouble. If we look at their quarterly report from the first quarter, Tesla plunged 36%. That means they lost over $460 billion in market cap in the quarter. All while Elon Musk was fucking up our federal government, dismantling programs, policies, firing people that keep our country running, wrecking the things that we care about in the name of government efficiency. Keep in mind, we now know from reporting that it's basically a wash. They haven't saved any money. The only thing they've done is put money into the pockets of the super rich, while, again, destroying the things that we care about and that keep America going. So he cost his own company $460 billion in market cap, while he was stealing your private information, while he was cutting programs that are directly resulting in the deaths of millions of people around the world, while he was in there fucking up your Social Security, stealing your data, canceling cancer research and stroke research, firing weather forecasters and our wildfire firefighters, implementing his eugenicist techno-bro vision, actively making life worse for the rest of us, He thought that he was going to be ascending to some kind of deified state. He wants to be a feudal lord over the rest of us. Remember, he calls working class people, he calls everybody in America, including our veterans, including disabled people, including children, including farmers, small business owners. He calls all of us the parasite class. And he wants to be seen as some sort of super genius with this amazing ability to make everything more efficient. No, basically, he wants to take things that are owned by the American people, that fund good things for the American people, and he wants to privatize all of them so that he and his buddies get super rich. But he thought that was going to go over well with the American people, and in response, we saw Tesla takedowns be incredibly... He did not anticipate Tesla takedowns. There are still Tesla takedown protests every day of the week across America. We're not fucking having it. We're never forgetting what Musk has done. The Tesla brand is now permanently connected to fascism. The Tesla brand is now permanently a Yahtzee. There's a reason that they call the Cybertruck the swastika. Elon Musk has poisoned his own brand, and he tanked the first quarter profits for his corporation, all while making himself deeply unpopular. Not just with the American people, but internationally. I think in Germany, sales of Tesla cars fell like 76%. But also, the board of Tesla was like, what the fuck, bro? You're destroying this company. You need to get out of the federal government and come back and actually do your job here at Tesla. And then we see folks in the Trump regime, Donald Trump, really unhappy with what Musk is doing and how he's real cringe, he's real embarrassing. And Donald Trump doesn't like to be surrounded by people or associated with people who make him look bad. And we had this dynamic of Elon Musk looming over the president of the United States, who was seated in the Oval Office, and Musk's kid, making fun of the president. Musk really thought he was running the show in those press conferences. He thought he was a big man, and he was going to be ascendant into this position of like running America and running the world. His fragile narcissistic vision of a technocrat future where he was the supreme being, the supreme lord, ruler of all. Yeah, how's that working out for you, Muskie? You didn't look too cheesed in that interview. Your foray into attempting to control American politics not going so well for you? You didn't think the American people were going to fight back, did you? Because your bro Curtis Yarvin said that we were all weak, that the American people were just going to lay down and take it, that we weren't going to fight back, and this country was going to be easy pickings for you. You don't look too victorious in that interview today. So Twitter is a Yahtzee hellscape that is currently proving dead internet theory. Tesla is tanking, and you have tainted the brand forever. SpaceX is only solvent because you are getting billions of our taxpayer money, and we'll see how long that lasts. And now you don't want to fuck around in other countries' politics anymore. It didn't work well for you here, didn't work well for you in Germany, and it really didn't work well for you in the state of Wisconsin, where you thought you were going to buy that race. You thought you were going to buy the Supreme Court race. When we're talking about your big loss in the Wisconsin Supreme Court case you thought you could buy, I believe the AP said Susan Crawford overcame massive spending from groups funded by Elon Musk. So I hope you learned your lesson. Keep the fuck out of American politics. You wasted $250 million backing Trump, thinking that you were going to buy yourself a presidency and he was going to be your little puppet. You spent tens of millions of dollars thinking you were going to buy a Wisconsin Supreme Court case, and the voters said, get fucked. And just so you know, it's only 4 months into this regime, so the resistance is just getting going. So go back to your little hidey hole with your tail between your legs.
Some major news out of New York that should set off blinking red lights for Republicans. Democrat Sam Sutton just won a special election for New York State Senate District 22, a district that Donald Trump won by 55 points this past November. This is a district where Trump got 77% of the vote just 6 months ago. And yet, when voters had the chance to send a Republican to the state Senate from that district, they chose the Democrat by an almost 2-to-1 margin. That is an 89-point swing from red to blue in a matter of months. Just to put things into perspective here, if we saw a similar swing in every state, the Democrats would win every seat in the House, every seat in the Senate, and every seat in the Electoral College. Now that, of course, won't happen, but the swing from red to blue here is still worth talking about. And this comes just days after Democrat John Ewing Jr. pulled off a stunning upset victory in the Omaha mayoral race in Nebraska, defeating three-term Republican incumbent Gene Stothert, flipping a seat from red to blue, and marking the first time a Democrat has been elected mayor of Omaha since 2009. That was the third Democratic flip since November of 2024, but as we've seen so much throughout the country, Trump has dragged down the Republican Party like a human anchor, and this is the result. Hell, it's not even limited to our own country. If you're a conservative anywhere in the world, chances are your tangential relationship to Donald Trump will mean that you're going to lose an election, as was the case in Romania, Canada, and Australia in just the last couple of weeks. When I say that there is no place on earth where you're safe from any affiliation with Trump, I'm not kidding. Here's Canada's Mark Carney making it very clear where he stands on the issue of Trump.
As I've been warning for months, America wants our land, our resources, our water, our country. Never. But these are not idle threats. President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. That will never ever happen.
And just like in Canada, here's Australia's Anthony Albanese calling out Trump over the trade war.
But the Australian people have every right to view this action by the Trump administration as undermining our free and fair trading relationship and counter to the shared values that have always been at the heart of our two nations' long-standing friendship. This will have consequences for how Australians see this relationship. These are uncertain times, but Australians can be absolutely certain of this. Our government will always stand up for Australian jobs, Australian industry, Australian consumers, and Australian values.
And as I mentioned before, it's not even limited to the English-speaking world. In Romania, just days ago, pro-EU centrist Nicu Jordan defeated far-right Trump fan George Simion in the Romanian presidential runoff election. This was a massive rejection of Trump-style nationalism in a country that was supposedly trending far to the right. Simion was literally running around him calling himself a MAGA president and pledging to make Romania a strong ally of the United States. He even told reporters, "We are a Trumpist party which will govern in Romania." Simion followed the Trump playbook to a T. He was running on a platform of ending military aid to Ukraine and criticized the European Union's leadership. He promoted conspiracy theories, stoked fear about immigrants, and claimed he would restore democracy, all while planning to appoint an ultra-nationalist as prime minister. Any of that sound familiar? Of course, now Romania, Canada, and Australia's conservatives can join American conservatives, all of whom have sat idly by as Trump unilaterally destroyed their own election prospects. Since Trump took office, where he demanded total fealty from his party and then went on to tank the stock market, the economy, 401ks, consumer confidence, and surge costs, now the rest of his own party here in the United States is forced to bear the political burden of that. And the electoral consequences have been beyond apparent. Just a few weeks ago, the two Republican candidates in Florida's special elections underperformed by 16 points and 22 points from the party's 2024 margin. In Wisconsin, liberal Supreme Court Justice nominee Susan Crawford overperformed the 2024 presidential election contest by 11 points in that 50-50 swing state en route to her victory there. In Pennsylvania, Democrats overperformed by 15 points and 17 points in two state legislative seats en route to victories there, one of which solidified Democratic control of the Pennsylvania State House, and the other of which flipped a seat from red to blue. Across the United States, of the almost 24 races held since Election Day, Democrats are seeing an 11.5-point swing to the left, with 3 of those races seeing Democrats flip seats formerly held by Republicans. In other words, we are seeing both domestic and international backlash to Trump's erratic style of governance. And if all of this feels remarkably similar to what we saw in 2017, you'd be right. Back in 2017, when they tried to attack the ACA, that led to the biggest ouster of Republicans in the House in modern American history, flipping 41 seats to Democratic control. And so have you heard from any of your Republican colleagues about the massive blinking red light that they are ushering in right now by virtue of doing this?
They certainly are increasingly of the view that this is a legislative train wreck that is going to turn into a political train wreck. Now, they haven't had the courage to say that out loud, but the reality is they are nervous and concerned. It's one of the reasons why they actually are going to have a Rules Committee hearing to advance the GOP tax scam at 1 a.m. in the morning. This is unprecedented.
Famously doing it at 1 a.m. so that the most people can watch.
That's absolutely correct. So we're going to lean in aggressively. Perhaps they were of the view that Democrats are not going to show up. We're going to be there in force. In fact, we'll be there in greater numbers than perhaps would otherwise have been the case. Make it clear that we're going to forcefully push back on behalf of the American people. I think the votes aren't completely there yet. It's one of the reasons why Donald Trump came to Capitol Hill.
Right.
Because he knows that there are challenges, including amongst some so-called swing seat Republicans who, go home and they pretend to be moderate, go on TV and pretend to be moderate, but try to hide their votes in Washington, D.C., where they vote with the extreme MAGA Republicans. But this time, they know that the people are watching, particularly as it relates to how they might vote on healthcare, on Medicaid, on nutritional assistance to children, veterans, and seniors.
After Trump's shock victory back in 2016, Democrats began outperforming expectations in special elections across the country. They flipped a state Senate seat in Delaware by 16 points. They won a state House seat in New Hampshire that had been in Republican control for 30 years. In Virginia, they came within a hair of taking control of the House of Delegates, picking up 15 seats when most analysts had predicted that they would gain only 5 or 6. And what happened after all of that? The 2018 midterm cycle saw Democrats flip a staggering 41 House seats by the biggest margin in modern American history and take back the majority for the first time in 8 years. I'm not saying any of this to make you complacent, quite the opposite. I am saying this to show you that even when it feels like the chips are down and hope is lost, that we can win. It doesn't mean that it won't take work and organizing and volunteering and donating and door knocking and canvassing and messaging and figuring out our own brand problems, but the environment is obviously favorable for Democrats. Our job is to capitalize on it right now. There's plenty of work to do, but so far it's paying off. Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is
Knesset quotes Hitler while discussing the Gaza war. He has a whole segment on his Wikipedia dedicated to his Hitler statements? Totally and utterly inadequate. Starmer says the world cannot allow Gaza to starve. We're going to talk about the international community's response. What's really interesting about all of this is that, they are finally arriving at least the optics front. They're becoming Erdogan. They're hitting the Erdogan technique where they just start talking about Israel in a mean way and even aesthetically claim that they are going to implement a blockade against Israel while simultaneously still offering all of the military support necessary to Israel. Minister of Health calling Zara Sultana so cheap for saying the UK should stop selling weapons to Israel.
Between October and December 2024, the government approved over £127 million in export licenses to Israel, exceeding the combined total under the Tories for 2020 to 2023.
You want to know something crazy? There's a comparison I'm going to make here as well to Israeli society, or at least some outspoken people in Israeli society right now. These are the people, the Zara Sultanas and the Jeremy Corbyns of the world, are the people that are desperately trying to preserve the soul of these countries. A lot of these animals don't understand that. They are so invested in their completely distorted worldview that revolves around might is right politics, where there is no right and no wrong. The only thing that is correct is whatever we say goes, that they don't understand that in the process of scolding these people, they are once again dehumanizing themselves. These are the last people that are desperately trying to claw back some semblance of humanity for the Western world, a humanity that we do not deserve to be associated with, by the way. We are barbaric animals. And that's precisely what's going on in Israel as well. The reason why I make this comparison is because I saw another idiotic Hasbara account, I think it was Neo something, post these the Succession, these articles in a negative fashion, not realizing that these articles that she's posting negatively are unironically on the morally correct side. But she doesn't realize that, and I think actually she might have realized that and deleted it. Nope, Here it is. Haaretz, ladies and gentlemen, Neo Berg posts, possibly the most famous Iranian Jew on X, advocates for Iranian monarchy and restoration, Iranian monarchy restoration in Israel, anti-woke. She posted the succession, these article titles, as a negative. If you are a Jewish Israeli, you are complicit in the killing of 53,000 Palestinians, from Odeh Bizharat. Gideon Levy writes, stop calling it a Gaza war. Stop being a part of Netanyahu's genocidal legacy. Alon Idan, destroying Gaza with love. Israel's new yogi Nazis. That last one is about specifically the holistic yoga lovers in Israel that are firmly committed to the genocide. They are basically neo-Nazis that love. They're crunchy granola neo-Nazis. Can you imagine posting this as a negative? Like, how oblivious are you to the way the world fucking views Israel that you literally post some of the only saving grace in Israeli society as a negative, with the assumption that your audience is also going to respond to it like it's negative? This, to me, demonstrates how far gone you are in your worldview, how invested you are in your worldview, where nothing at all can change your trajectory. Like, can you imagine looking at the last bastion, the last hope, the last redeemers of Israeli society in any way, shape, or form, looking at that and then turning around and being like, F these losers, they're a bunch of capos, the capo newspaper. Look, that's the first response. Insane. Golan, Israel becoming a pariah state, is killing children as a hobby from the times of Israel. Yair Golan, the head of the opposition Democrats, issues a scathing denunciation of the government and the war in Gaza, saying that Israel is killing children in Gaza as a hobby. There are at least liberal Zionists who understand how bad this looks to the Western world, so they're trying to massage the narrative to basically have something redeemable. Now, I don't put the other three article writers in the same degree here, okay? I need you to understand something. This is very different than what I showed you. What I showed you earlier, these guys, they have a different mindset. They do actually have redeemable opinions, especially Gideon Levy. I might not agree with them the entire way, but it doesn't matter. They do have like, at least clearly from what I read, what I saw bits and pieces of this article and what I know of Gideon's perspective. I'm not entirely familiar with Odeh Bizharat, but like the article title stands alone, like those guys they're correct. Yair Golan, on the other hand, is doing this as a mechanism of propaganda as well. Like, he is literally saying, like, we've gone too far. You know what I mean? There is a number of baby murder that is appropriate. We've just gone above and beyond that, and now people fucking hate us. We've become a pariah state. We are becoming a pariah state, not realizing that you already are a pariah state. Israel is on the way to becoming a pariah state. It already is, like South Africa was. If we don't return to acting like a sane country, the left-wing leader, a former IDF deputy chief of staff, says in an interview with the Com Public broadcaster. And a sane country does not fight against civilians, does not kill babies as a hobby, and does not give itself the aim of expelling populations, he says. The government is full of vengeful types with no morals, no ability to run a country in a time of crisis. This endangers our existence, Golan says. I suspect he got a lot of pushback for this statement, which is already like bare minimum. You know what I mean? It's a day late, a dollar too short, and yet still this is considered completely unacceptable in Israel. Knesset debate reveals not everyone thinks starving Gazan children is a bad thing. Here's another article headline that I wanted to show you. From 40 Babies hoax to this bookend. Moshe Feilin on Channel 14. Every baby in Gaza is an enemy. Every baby in Gaza is an enemy. The enemy is not Hamas. We need to conquer Gaza and colonize it and not leave a single Gazan child there. There is no other victory. Prominent Judeo-Nazi maniac Moshe Feiglin on another genocidal rant this morning on Channel 14. No society is monolithic. Every society has discourse. Every society has back and forth. There's always going to be a diversity of opinions. But in Israel, the diversity of opinion revolves around how much genocide and what kind of weapons you can use. How much starvation is appropriate. It's not about real conversation surrounding the notion that we shouldn't be doing an occupation at all. We shouldn't be starving children at all. What the fuck are we doing? It's more so, is it okay to starve all of the Gazan children? Or can we at least like maybe give them one plate of food and one slice of bread for the day as we kill them over and over again? That is the real debate happening in Israel. It is completely cooked as a society. Of course, it's a pariah state. They've lost their goddamn minds. Israel is also terrifying because it resembles America's future if left on unchecked. If people don't currently wisen up to the way that the Trump administration is moving, we are going to become Israel very shortly. It's already beginning, and we're ironically using Israel as a mechanism to bring Israel here. Fuck. Here, look, if you want to hear what some other incredible takes are coming out of Israel, let's take a look. I'll tell you more than that. Every child, every baby in Gaza is an enemy. It's so funny to me, even though it's obviously gross and terrifying and horrible, all of the worst things. Like if you feel like you hate Israel, let me tell you, you don't hate Israel hard enough. There's no amount of hatred that's hard enough. I will just say that. But on the other hand, there's something really dark, but also ironic and somewhat funny about the fact that, like, in Israel, they openly are entertaining this stuff, right? And in America, when you say they're openly entertaining this stuff in Israel, you get branded a fucking anti-Semite. It's so weird. It's like, but they're saying it. Like, what do you mean? I'm just reporting on what they said. No, in order to be a defender of Jewish people, you have to literally close your eyes and shut off your ears and bite your tongue and not say the truth about what the is going on in Israel. They've lost their fucking minds, okay? A truly and utterly depraved society. Of course they have to be truly and utterly depraved at this point. They're doing a fucking genocide for 19 months. You can't maintain a genocide for 19 months on an outgroup without a healthy dose of dehumanization propaganda that has to set in, that has to be an incredibly important part of your identity. Think about how much people freaked out about that one dude in Hamas on the, I think he was like the Lebanese branch guy who was like, because of what Israel has done to us, 1 million October 7s is justified against Israel, right? He said that shortly after October 7, and everyone was like, this is genocide. This is genocidal. Okay, there's been 19 months of genocide, and every single Israeli politician at this point, with the exception of like 3, have literally been like, it's a genocide and it's good, and we need to do genocide specifically to the fucking babies. Previously, there are plenty of people in this community that would probably tell you that previously, like Jewish members of this community especially, would tell you that in the past, like 2 years ago, or even like a couple months into what Israel was doing in Gaza, if I were to compare it to the Nazis, or if I were to compare what's happening in Gaza to the Holocaust, there would be a lot of people that would be like, oh, that's a bridge too far, I think. Now, you won't hear anybody respond to that in a negative fashion. Everyone will say, no, this is it's not a one-to-one comparison in terms of like the total numbers, but that is precisely what's going on. It is a mechanized death camp. It is mechanized death, just like the Holocaust was, and it's happening in an open-air prison that is now turned into an open-air death camp. Now think, why is it that the public sentiment has changed this dramatically? It's because people realize what's going on. And that's also part of the reason why, because look at this dipshit. Every child, every baby in Gaza is an enemy, he says. That's the reason why the UK is at least trying to aesthetically present themselves in opposition to what Israel is doing, while still calling it a fucking war, by the way. Bro, it gets worse. Former Israeli Minister of Knesset quotes Hitler while discussing the Gaza war.
5 minutes later. 2 hours later.
As Hitler said, I can't live if one Jew is left. We can't live here if one Islamo-Nazi remains in Gaza. He has a whole segment on his Wikipedia dedicated to his Hitler statements. He has said something like this more than once. His Hitler comments are, I'm sorry, what? Feiglin has openly stated that though he is not opposed to peace, peace is not his goal and would not be on top of his agenda as prime minister. Rather, his focus on reforming Israel as an essentially Jewish state by acting on several campaigns on the religious, social, and legal and security fronts. Yeah, he said that, by the way, back in I guess he said it in when? June 16th, 2024. This is what dude, I'm serious. I mean, like, look, people say like this is an edge case or whatever, right? Like this is an edge case. It's not like what Benjamin Netanyahu or other prominent members of the security cabinet or the governing coalition are saying something that different. They just don't like directly say Adolf Hitler said this and it's good, but they sound like Adolf Hitler. There is a link to Hitler comments of this guy. Oh my God. In an article on Haaretz, Yossi Sarid quoted Feiglin in context of demonstrations against the Oslo Accords as saying, Hitler was an unparalleled military genius. Nazism promoted Germany from a low to a fantastic physical and ideological status. The ragged, trashy youth body turned into a neat and orderly pact of society, and Germany received an exemplary regime, a proper justice system, and public order. Hitler savored good music. He would paint. This was no bunch of thugs. They merely used thugs and homosexuals. Feiglin clarified his position to the Ma'ariv newspaper that just because he considers Hitler a military genius, this does not mean he admires him. He was banned from Britain. I mean, I guess at least he's honest. Like, I don't know. I mean, he's right here. He's saying babies in Gaza are my enemy. Like, this is his quote. So is it all that crazy for him to also be like, yeah, and Hitler actually was a figure worthy of admiration? Like, is that strange for him to say? Is it really? When you think about it, is it really that crazy for this guy to admire Adolf Hitler? Yeah, he's Jewish. Yeah, he's in Israel. Yeah, his immediate family members most likely were executed by Adolf Hitler in the Holocaust. So you're like, how do you live in this situation? Like, how do you live with yourself is, of course, something that you can think about, but it's like after a steady dose of dehumanizing propaganda where you dehumanize yourself, it's understandable where he's just kind of looking at it and being like, fascism is awesome. Is he an elected official? Yes. Oh, he's not anymore? He almost was. Wait, I thought he was a part of Likud initially. Was he not a part of the Knesset when he was in Likud? He was from Likud. I don't think he is any longer. He's a former minister of the Knesset, but he was in the Knesset. And now he's the head of the Zehud party, the Identity Party, which is like the Libertarian one, right? Which is really funny. Yes, the Libertarian Party. I love the Libertarian Party being like, as a Libertarian, Adolf Hitler is a figure worthy of much admiration. Yeah, I saw in the Wikipedia it said he was a part of the Likud and the Knesset from 2013 to 2015 and then swapped over to the Libertarian Party. Are people actually this knowingly fascist? Like, they recognize how fascist they are? Dog. One of the parties in the governing coalition that has members in the war cabinet is literally called the Jewish Power Party. Okay, you know how like they have white power party? Like, imagine it's called the Jewish Power Party. It's like half of, Otzma Yehudit. It is, no, they don't. Yes, they do. What the are you talking about? No, they don't. That is literally the name of Itamar Ben-Gvir's party. What the are you talking about? No, they don't. What is happening here? Why are you denying reality that is one Google search away where you were like, it's so objectionable, this must not be true? No, they don't. Yeah, Israelis literally admit they're fascists in New York Times interviews. Like, this happened not that long ago. In New York Times interview with a West Bank settler, she proudly admits that she is a fascist. There's something, I can admit there's something fascist about me. I'm not hiding it. I don't believe there's any other way.
Your uncensored lack of political correctness definitely shocked me.
No, it's not an old ass video. This is after October 7. I think she went down there to fucking interview some of these goddamn settlers of freaks. Zionism, especially in this modern iteration of Zionism is impossible to contend with as anything but Nazi ideology. That's it. You can fantasize about a different kind of Zionism, but like if Albert Einstein recognized that that version of Zionism did not exist in 1948, how the are you 77 years later still fantasizing about it? Like Albert Einstein was like, yeah, no, this is some fascist bullshit. We got to stop. Either you have a perfectly peaceful binational commitment to living alongside the indigenous population, or you're a fucking Nazi. And now when you say that in 2025, people go, oh, what do you mean? I can't believe you're saying that. Bezalel Smotrich yesterday was flexing. He was flexing at a press conference being like, we are literally committed to the ethnic cleansing of every Gazan, and the world has yet to stop us. That's what he said. He said that. The European Union has officially agreed to review its trade agreement with Israel due to the worsening humanitarian situation in Gaza. They don't think it's enough that they're allowing like 1 or 2 fucking trucks to enter into the Gaza Strip. And they are finally deciding to posture aesthetically against the events that are unfolding, against the genocide, without calling it a genocide. This is the first step. It might be far too late at this point. I welcome any step in the correct direction. But 19 fucking months, dude. Jesus Christ. By the way, this is exactly what happened with South Africa. The West was fully on board with apartheid until it was a political burden. Now, most people think the West was always anti-apartheid. Apartheid probably would have ended earlier if it were not for the US and UK. Yup. Does Israel have to let in humanitarian aid to Gaza? Survey. Israeli Channel 13 News. 53% no. 34% yes. 13% don't know. This, by the way, is a survey conducted on the Israeli Jewish Society and Israeli Palestinian Citizens of Israel as well. Their designation, not mine. So when those numbers are 53% no, I would love to see what the demographic breakdown of that is. Yeah, Moin Rabbani, as he points to, this is all symbolic. After 19 months of genocide, Great Britain has decided it needs to send an unambiguous message to Israel. The accelerated delivery of weapons from Britain to Israel, initiated by the Starmer government, to enable the intensified mass slaughter of Palestinians will continue without interruption. So will the import of illegal products from illegal settlements that sustains the illegal Israeli occupation. But London will pause negotiations with the genocidal apartheid state about a UK-Israel free trade agreement. The Starmer government will continue giving Israel everything it needs to continue with the genocide and apartheid, but make a performative gesture of punishing Israel by withholding from it something that has not been provided. The unambiguous message: keep up the fantastic work, we've got your back. Too clever by half, pure smoke and mirrors. The reason why they're even issuing this statement in and of itself is important, though, because the reason why they're issuing this statement implies that they want to, at least on the propaganda front, sever ties with the seemingly unconditional support that they've offered Israel. It's a step in the right direction. They're trying to save face, but the very fact that they recognize that there is face saving that must be done implies that more good things could happen in the future. That's all I'm saying. I'm just explaining to you that obviously this is not going to be a real game changer in the short term. It's not going to be possibly a game changer in the long term, but it is somewhat positive because it moves the needle in the appropriate direction. Israel becoming this toxic, repulsive pariah state in the eyes of the politicians is a little different than Israel becoming a toxic, repulsive pariah state in the eyes of the public. Because at the end of the day, given that we do not have a real democratic process in the Western world, it is just a sham, a mockery, as we have found out, as it's in full display. That sham is in full display with the with the direct difference in opinion from the broader public on this issue versus our politicians on this issue. The very fact that the politicians are playing catch up here, even if it's for aesthetic reasons, implies that more reckoning could come down the line.
As Cindy McCain said last week, and I quote, "Families in Gaza are starving while the food they need is sitting at the border." That is a gross violation of both U.S. and international law. What did you do? Nothing. Not once did you publicly call upon the Netanyahu government to end the blockade. Fortunately, other countries spoke out, and now we see a tiny trickle going in.
Why always the Netanyahu government? Because our institutions are comprised of fucking cowards who don't want to say the truth. And yes, that also means Bernie Sanders. This is part of the reason why I'm actually frustrated with Bernie Sanders. The reason why I'm frustrated with Bernie Sanders is because he should be leading the charge on this. He should be giving his colleagues the courage and the permission to say the fucking truth, to make Americans understand our direct involvement in this. And he says all of the right things, and he also pushes the conversation in the right direction, but he won't entertain the notion of it being a genocide, and he won't entertain the notion of this being anything but Netanyahu's own personal agenda.
As many of you know, the Netanyahu government of Israel has killed more than 50,000 people in Gaza. I will be forcing votes in the Senate on 2 joint resolutions of disapproval, which will block almost $9 billion in U.S. arms sales to Netanyahu.
Bernie Sanders occupies a very important space in the Senate as the most popular senator, the most popular politician. If he was leading the charge on this, especially as a prominent Jewish figure in American politics, I think there would be more American politicians that would demonstrate the courage necessary to say the truth.
Moi, je suis canadienne, mais le plus important, c'est que je suis québécoise et je parle en français. Au Québec, on est fiers en français et on a même des lois pour protéger notre langue. C'est même une langue officielle du Canada malgré que moins de 25% de la population canadienne parle en français. Donc, j'ai décidé d'aller dans la ville de Toronto pendant 4 jours en parlant seulement français dans le but de voir si les Canadiens anglophones connaissent un minimum la langue française ou si je vais me faire dévisager pendant 4 jours. Est-ce que quelqu'un parle en français?
No, only English.
C'était pas facile, surtout que je parle couramment anglais, donc je vais me forcer à ne pas flancher et rester solide sur ma langue française parce que c'est important. Mais c'était vraiment difficile. Surtout qu'à travers ça, j'ai eu la brillante idée de me donner un défi qui allait me faire avoir l'air complètement taré pendant 4 jours. Et par-dessus ça, j'ai ajouté une conséquence à la personne entre ma meilleure amie et moi qui allait le plus utiliser de mots anglais. Bref, vous allez voir à quel point c'était difficile ou non de parler seulement français dans une ville canadienne anglophone. Je suis quand même fière de moi par contre, je dois avouer. Bonne vidéo. Alexa, quel pourcentage de la population torontoise parle en français?
La population de Toronto ne compte que 0,5% de francophones.
Je suis dans la merde. Farley est arrivé et j'ai dû lui annoncer le défi impossible que je m'étais auto-lancé. On s'en va à Toronto, qui est une ville qui parle anglais. Pour honorer la langue française, on va parler en français seulement.
Pendant 4 jours?
Ouais.
Non.
Ouais. Et mon but à moi, c'est d'aller porter des CV puis d'être capable de faire une entrevue pour me trouver un emploi en parlant seulement français.
Tu niaises?
À Toronto.
Ben, y a personne qui va t'accepter.
C'est ce qu'on va voir! J'ai dit bye à mes chats et c'est ainsi qu'on a pris place dans notre Uber pour se rendre à l'aéroport de Montréal. En tant que génération Z, mes amis et moi, on a tendance à utiliser beaucoup d'anglicismes ou même de tout simplement se parler en anglais entre nous et c'est quelque chose que je tiens à améliorer. Donc dans cette vidéo, ça ne sera pas possible et ce sera même puni.
Thank you so much.
Merci. Merci. Parlez, on dit merci.
Merci.
Commence mal à parler, là.
I'm sorry.
Non. Là, il va y avoir un tableau de pointage à l'écran. À chaque fois que tu parles en anglais, tu as un point. Puis la personne qui a le plus de points à la fin a une conséquence.
Non.
Oui. Elle va tellement perdre. Pendant que je vous fais passer dans la machine à rayon X, je vous explique la conséquence que la personne qui parlera le plus de fois en anglais va devoir faire. Sur Instagram, la perdante devra publier une vidéo d'elle qui chante le Haut-Canada, mais version Québec. Ça risque d'être laid à voir, donc vous saurez à la fin de la vidéo qui aura la conséquence, mais là, on a un avion à prendre. Jeton, excusez. Je me suis cogné la tête. Non, j'ai fait une goutte. On a débarqué de l'avion et pour vous mettre en contexte, Farley a été invité à un événement par une compagnie à Toronto et moi, ben, j'étais pas invitée de base, mais j'ai décidé de me payer un billet d'avion pour y aller avec elle, donc ben, je suis là. Donc, pour notre première journée à Toronto, on est accompagné par NG, alias Citron Rose. On a appelé notre Uber pour se rendre à l'hôtel et c'est à ce moment que le défi commence. Bonjour! Merci. Vous parlez français, monsieur? Cool! J'en parle bien. À notre arrivée à l'hôtel, on a réalisé qu'on devait avoir une conversation avec la réceptionniste pour s'enregistrer, mais en français. But just checking in. Oui. Avez-vous besoin de ma carte? De ma carte? Avez-vous besoin de ma carte?
Oui, ta pièce d'identité, oui.
OK. Ça me travaille quand même.
C'est tellement...
Ça va être con, ça, je pense.
Oui, ça va être con. 4, 3, 3. Oh. Marie. Yeah. Tiret. Anne. So. Non. Yes. À commercial. À commercial. Point. CA. CA.
C'est bon. C'est bonne. Merci. Non, juste désolé. Désolé. Merci. Merci. Enregistrement réussi. On est allé dans notre chambre avant notre événement en soirée. On a des cadeaux?
Ça, c'est X-Large, c'est le mien. Toi, t'es là-bas.
Okay. J'ai un problème quand même assez important parce que j'ai commencé à être dans ma semaine, mais c'est pas supposé. J'ai rien amené pour ça parce que j'étais pas supposée, donc je dois appeler au lobby pour savoir s'il y en a. Sauf que je dois parler en français. Bonjour, est-ce que quelqu'un parle en français?
Sorry?
Français?
No, only English.
OK. Tampax?
Yes, we have. I will send it to your room.
Merci.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye bye. Ça a quand même bien été, mais je voulais pas un tampon. Je voulais des serviettes sanitaires. Hello. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. Désolée. T'as oublié? J'ai merdé. T'as-tu fait exprès? J'ai pas fait exprès. Je te jure, j'ai pas fait exprès. Oh, merde, j'ai gagné des points.
Ouais.
Oh mon Dieu, j'y ai vraiment pas pensé.
Hey, je t'aime même.
Non, j'ai pas pensé. Je pensais juste au fait que genre j'ai ouvert la porte en bobette à un monsieur.
Ben oui, ça aussi. Là.
J'ai paniqué. Oh, c'est des tampons en carton.
Ukraine finally gets new main battle tanks and a battery of modern air defense as well. But we'll talk about this as well as about anything else that has happened along the front lines and behind them in this situation report about the war in Ukraine. Ukraine struck the Bolshov semiconductor factory in Orlyov. We have a picture from films that shows that a fire has started there, so the attack was, at least it hit the target. To which degree it was successful, we obviously can't say. Interesting too is that there are reports from both sides that in the Kupiansk area, so here, as well as in Sloviansk, Shahid 136 or Geran 2, which are very similar. The Geran 2 is the Russian version, were used for tactical attacks in the near rear. This is usually the Russians use the Shahid drones for strikes in the deep rear of the Ukrainians. In this regard, they would have been used very close to the front line to strike other targets. We'll switch to the developments along the front line, and here in Sumy we have some reports. We have a geolocation of Ukrainian forces crossing over the border and then being struck, showing us that Ukrainian attacks are still happening and the Ukrainians are still crossing over the border into Tyotkino. To which degree they hold ground there, I cannot say. And in another video, Russians are being struck in that small border post here. They're showing that this area clearly is not under Ukrainian control, so the front line seems to be close to the international border. We also have a fresh geolocation of Lochnia. This is here at this point. The Russians were seen. Lochnia is here, and the deep state maps gray zone is more or less accurate to the geolocation. This was here, so the Russians are getting ever closer to that road here. That was it from the front line. We also have the Ukrainian analyst Konstantin Mashovets saying that the North Koreans are no longer being used for combat in Kursk against the Ukrainians. Now and then they appear, but apparently they are no longer used for combat. This might lead to some hope that the North Koreans might not be used against Ukrainians inside of Ukraine, but that's clearly too early. We'll have to see how it continues. That's it from the Sumy region. We switch to Kharkiv. And here in Kharkiv, we have the Russians advancing further south. They have crossed the Vovcha at this point, and the deep state map is more or less accurate here as well. We see that the Russians were struck at this point. This is on the other side of the bridge at this point here. To which degree they have advanced further than this or gained control, I cannot see, so the front line seems to be mostly unchanged here as well. Ukrainian military spokesperson said that they see an increased concentration of Russian forces on the Russian side of the border. This might lead to the conclusion that the Russians might reinforce their offensive activities here in Kharkiv, and that we might see additional offensive activity fairly soon. So we switch to the Eastern Front, and here we have a Ukrainian military spokesperson saying that the Russian attacks in the Kupiansk region here have declined from 5 to 6 men to only 2 to 3 men, so it's very small groups that are still attacking there. They're mostly attacking with buggies, motorcycles, ATVs, but those attacks have apparently not been successful, as I cannot observe any change in territory. Further south, the Ukrainians are saying that the claimed capture of Torske was not correct. They say that it was basically an infiltration to demonstrate, to create pictures. So basically that Russians ran through to wave the flag and probably didn't make it back. This is here confirmed by the deep state map, so they have changed their map accordingly again. But while this is only pro-Ukrainians, we do have samples like this in the past. We've seen that from Kupiansk, where the Russians were inside of Kupiansk a couple of weeks ago, but it was a breakthrough where the Russians simply raced down towards Kupiansk and then were neutralized inside of the city itself. They did not take any territory there. They didn't hold out there. They broke through the line to then be neutralized. We have also seen that further south here in Ryhorivka. Ryhorivka it's probably close to a year already that a Russian flag was suddenly flying over Ryhorivka, while Bilohorivka was still fully held by the Ukrainians, and thus indicating that the Russians might have broken through by 5 kilometers. Here again, it was a claim. It was a very small reconnaissance group that raised a flag there, and not an indication of taken territory. So it's possibly true that the Russians have not taken Torske. So far, I have not seen visual evidence, though, that the Ukrainians still control it. So it's somewhat unclear. We simply can't confirm it at this point. As said, the Ukrainians basically said the Russians broke through for PR reasons, but they do not control Torske. It's still under our control, with the implication that they destroyed the Russian forces that enter Torske. That was it north of the Seversky Donetsk. South of Seversky Donetsk, we have changes too. In Verkhnoukamyansk, the Russians have been on the westernmost part of the town. That's more or less here. This is probably a contested area here. Right now, we have the Russians for another time inside of Verkhnoukamyansk, but this is a region where the contested area, the gray zone, is very wide between both sides. So it might be that while we have visual evidence of the Russians there, they probably do not control the town yet. But at the same time, it clearly also says that the Ukrainians do no longer have a control over the town either. Further south, the Russians have crossed the Seversky Donetsk Canal north of Chasiv Yar. We have visual evidence of this as well. Here, they've been spotted on the other side. On the map, that's more or less at this point here. Nothing massive, no massive change, as the Russians have already been on the other side of the canal further south, and thus this is not a breakthrough, a bridge crossing that is of any bigger importance. It's a tactical success, but only a tactical success. Further south, the Russians have also crossed over the canal once again. We have visual evidence of them being here, close to Ozaryanivka. Here. They have been roughly here. In past visual evidences, I had them roughly here. So they might have advanced by 100 to 150 meters in the meantime. That was it in this region. From Torske, we have some changes too. We have the Russians north of Krimske at this point. Here, indicating that the Russians might either have advanced from here or about the situation about Krimske. We are not completely sure, but we recently had the Russians up to these positions here. So we see Russians operating in this area. This does not conclude a control of the territory. Often it is motorcycle troops that are advancing, or even single infantrymen marching that have not yet been found by drones, indicating how thinly the lines are being held in this area. The Russians also are west of the high-rises here, geolocated. At this point, that would be another indication that if there were any Ukrainian positions here in the high-rises, they're probably completely cut off. So at this point, we do not know if there are any Ukrainians left in the center, but from everything I've seen so far, that was probably the remnants of that assault that have been still inside of the center. Now we have a fresh geolocation, and that should be, if I'm not completely wrong, roughly at this point here. So indicating if there are Ukrainians here, they're definitely cut off. Further south or west in the area of Pokrovsk, we have territorial changes again. This here is now being held by the deep state map, is being attributed to the Russians. It is indicating that according to them, the Russians have taken Nova Poltavka completely and advanced further north. This is likely true, as this is a pro-Ukrainian map indicating that this territory fell to the Russians. This would be a tactical breakthrough, basically a local success that was able to be exploited. Nothing major, no operational, let alone a strategic breakthrough that was achieved here by the Russians. We have another geolocation here though, and that is the Russians once again at this point. And this is, if I'm not wrong, here, and we see that the pro-Ukrainian deep state map takes this agricultural area, this one, and the area north now into the area that is fully under Russian control. But that was it from Pokrovsk. I do not see any other changes than this. Further south, we have the next change close to the oblast border, southwest of Oratne. Here, the Russians have also advanced to these positions here. That should be roughly at this point here. So an advance of several kilometers north towards the road here, towards Bahat here. We'll have to see how the how the situation there will continue, but the Russians have clearly advanced further north here. Again, that does not conclude that they are now in territorial control of this area. It just shows us that they have been there. The Russians also have advanced towards the west here, towards the town of Mala Tokmachka, but there again, it was ATVs. The Russians had disembarked in the tree lines here, and the ATVs were destroyed by the Ukrainians, so a significant gain in territory cannot be recorded. That was it with territorial changes. Overall, not much changes. I forgot to mention it in the last situation report that the Ukrainians have lost a third F-16. This time the pilot was able to catapult himself out of the plane and survive. The crash of the plane has not led to casualties on the ground. According to the reports I found, the pilot before that had shot down several drones with missiles and probably then engaged further drones with his cannon, and this might have led to the damage of the plane. Maybe he came too close, maybe he lost control under some circumstances, because he was able to fly basically at stall speed to attack the drones, and this led them to lose this plane. This is another plane lost in this mission. Recently, just a couple of days ago, the Ukrainians lost a MiG-29 in this mission as well. This is clearly a decision by the Ukrainian Air Force to use their fighter jets to intercept drones like this, and in this case it has led to the second plane being lost. At least the pilot survived. Then we have news from Spain. A Russian-linked Ukrainian politician was shot dead in Spain. He was a pro-Russian politician. For a time, he was searched for by the Ukrainian prosecutors were looking for him for treason, but for his participation in the putting down in the attacks on the demonstrations and protest in 2014. There were also accusations he helped Russia annex the Crimea in 2014. He was the deputy head of the presidential administration of Viktor Yanukovych, the pro-Russian president that then fled to Russia. But interestingly enough, the prosecutors apparently dropped the charges to a certain degree as he returned to Ukraine after the election of Volodymyr Zelensky, but left the country again in 2022 when the war against Russia started. And a group of attackers attacked him from behind and shot him several times in the back and in the head, and then fled on foot. So far, I have not read that they have been found. He was killed. Now, obviously, the accusations would point towards the SBU at this point, but so far, no conclusive evidence indicates that the Ukrainians might have been responsible for that. From what I've seen in the pro-Ukrainian sphere, though, the shock and the compassion, to put it this way, are rather limited. So a lot of them seem to think that he deserved it. I have no idea, though, whether that means whether that's true or whether that means the Ukrainian intelligence agencies have actually committed that act. In the political sphere, Putin now said that Ukraine will be presented with a memorandum that would detail the conditions for a peace. But the Russians keep talking about the solving of the root causes, basically meaning that there is no compromise from the Russians. What a big surprise. Dmitry Medvedev also said there is no one right now in Ukraine with whom Russia could make peace, indicating that they continue not seeing Volodymyr Zelensky as the legitimate president. And he also said Ukraine is a failed state whose leadership does not have any legitimacy, and at least he is of some importance as he's in the National Security Council. The European Union, in the meantime, has issued new sanctions, but according to the Kiev Independent, the United States will block a statement by the G7 for a continued support for Ukraine. Trump also said that he basically has given up on trying to make peace in Ukraine. He doesn't want to take care of anymore, and he will not support additional sanctions. He's even talking about economic opportunities, and unfortunately, it's only some rumor mills on the internet. I should probably do the blame game here, because I hate that. We have here one of the bigger channels that is being followed by a lot of pro-Ukrainian observers. We see 480,000, and he claims he's also open to increasing arms supplies if needed. That would in total, this message would probably be a good news. If Trump leaves Ukraine be, that seems to be better than him trying to make peace, as he puts pressure on the Ukrainians in the past, and only on the Ukrainians. If he leaves Ukraine be but is willing to deliver more weapons if they are being paid for, then the Europeans might do what is needed, and that might help Ukraine. But here my rant starts, and I apologize up front. I hate these accounts to a degree that I can hardly say. There are tons of them on Twitter. They take media articles and take the essence of them, post it on their channel to then create the news, often calling themselves OSINT, while they do no open source intelligence whatsoever. But what they do every single time is leave out their sources. So someone like me who tries to work with facts, I have not been able to find the statement that Trump is open to delivering additional weapons. This is obviously a massively important point here at this point. To know whether or not Trump is willing to give additional weapons to Ukraine is of essence of this, is the essence of everything here. I was not able to confirm it. It might just be the fantasy of Noel reports, but the fact that he doesn't post the link makes it unusable. And why doesn't he post the link? My assumption is all the time that these people know that the value they create with their channels by simply copying the essence of media articles and posting it on their Twitter while asking for donations, that the essence of this is so low that they have to be afraid that they can be made redundant by somebody clicking the links. The opposite is actually the case. It would make them more worthy. It would make them more useful if they posted the links, because someone like me who likes to check the sources would be much more willing to use them, and the audience they have is far too lazy or doesn't have the time to check any source themselves anyways. So for them, if that's not fantasy what they are doing, posting the links would not cost them a dime, unless they copied it from other accounts, which might always also be another option, but it would improve the quality. But unfortunately, this account, as well as so many others who often call themselves OSINT accounts on Twitter and on other platforms, simply copy the essence of an article without posting the article, clearly being afraid that the lack of value they added, that they feel their feeling of lack of value that they added would bite them back. On the other hand, you can see somebody like Rob Lee, who also posts a lot of things, and he posts every single link with it because he's a researcher. He does want to do proper work, and as you can see, it didn't hurt him at all. Because he's valuable as a source and valuable as an aggregator and very appreciated by everyone who takes it serious. So if for whatever reason any of those OSINTers, any of these aggregation accounts should listen to this, please, please, please start posting your links. Nobody is going to leave you, stop reading you if you post links. Instead, you're going to find more audience and you're going to increase the value you create instead of just doing what you do so far. Please start posting the links. So my rant is over, and I have some international support left. Australia said that has now...
Remember when the headlines were screaming that there was a 50